Memphis has a population of 1.1 million people, which makes it slightly less than half the size of Pittsburgh. It's a very musical city, not for the music which we produce, but we're very proud of the fact that we're the home of the blues and the birthplace of rock and roll. And you know the names, I hope, who have been attached to that end of things from Memphis. Elvis, obviously, above all. Sun Records, Stax Records, Sam Phillips, Johnny Cash, Carl Perkins, Otis Redding, B.B. King, Booker T, and the MGs. If you don't know that music and you care at all about the music of your own country, you need to. In the realm of popular music, I think there are 3 cities in the United States which really have a unique musical profile: Memphis, Nashville, and New Orleans. And it's no accident that all 3 of them are in the South. Despite the very musical nature of the city, there is little tradition for deep support of the arts that you would have in a city in the Northeast or a city in the Midwest. In Pittsburgh, you have the monuments to that just down Forbes Avenue a little bit. Carnegie Music Hall, the Carnegie Library, the Carnegie Museum, and your institution, and the University of Pittsburgh. You can go on and on. This is a city, as is Cleveland, where I grew up, as is St. Louis and Cincinnati, where I used to live, who take art seriously. This is, for whatever reason, not the case in Memphis or really in any Sunbelt city. In addition, Memphis is beset with intractable urban problems, horrendous poverty, horrendous lack of education among large segments of the population, horrendous crime. We thank goodness for Detroit, because they keep us from the top of the list, unfortunately. I mean, it would be funny if it weren't so sad. It really would be. Our local newspaper ran a story a few years ago comparing the socioeconomic statistics of Memphis with pre-Katrina New Orleans. Now, you'll remember during that horrible disaster that New Orleans was held up as the poster child for urban poverty in America. So this article compared things like median income, the percentage of the population living below the poverty line, the percentage of children living below the poverty line, the percentage of the population with a high school diploma, with a college degree, median income. The statistics were virtually identical, with one exception, which is that Memphis has a higher infant mortality rate. Now, I'm not meaning to just do a litany of Memphis's problems, because there are things about the place that are absolutely wonderful. But on the surface, based on this description I've just given you, you wouldn't think that it's particularly fertile ground for the arts. Enter the Memphis Symphony Orchestra. The orchestra played its first concert in 1953. It was a group of around 22 amateur musicians. It went through a major growth spurt in the 1980s, and today is a fully professional group of a modest $4.1 million budget. That would be approximately 1/10 that of the Pittsburgh Symphony, I'm guessing, which nonetheless plays at a surprisingly high level. And on a good night, I would put our performances up against those of orchestras twice our budget size. Nonetheless, I think it's fair for me to say that for the first 50 years of the orchestra's existence, it existed in a very small little box. And it was primarily an organization that gave performances for people of a certain income level, who lived in certain parts of town, who were a certain age, and of a certain race. And this is a city in which people who look like me constitute only 35% of the population. I would say that it would also be fair to say that despite all of that, we were viewed by our community with a certain amount of affection. And if you said to somebody in Memphis, do you have an orchestra here? They'd say, oh yeah, we've got a symphony and I've heard they're pretty good. I would not say that we were viewed as essential to civic life. If you go to Grand Rapids, Michigan, or to Fort Wayne, Indiana, or to Omaha, Nebraska, you will find orchestras which are thought of by their communities as being absolutely essential, as being one of the great things about the city. So we realized about 5 years ago that there were not enough of those kind of people that I mentioned earlier to sustain the orchestra over the long haul. And we were going to have to really seriously redefine our relationship with our community. And it was going to require that we look at things in a completely different way. What most orchestras say to their communities is, we're playing the Alpine Symphony on Saturday night. It's really great. We're really good. You should come. You'd like it. It's good for you. When all else fails. We've decided to say to our community something very different. We've decided to say to them, what can we do for you? How can we fulfill our mission by helping you fulfill your mission? You would be surprised at the answers you get when you ask a question like that. To just put this in slightly different words, most orchestras have a mission statement, just like most businesses have a mission statement. And it says approximately this: it is the purpose of the Moose Jaw Philharmonic to play the great masterworks of classical music and music recently composed at the highest possible level for an ever-increasing audience. Sounds okay, right? Okay. Our mission statement in Memphis, which we worked on for months, says, the Memphis Symphony exists to create meaningful experiences through music. It's a small difference, but it's an essential difference because it means that we look outwards from ourselves to our audiences, and there are many of them, there's not just one, to our constituencies, of which there are many, not just one. Not saying, you come to us. We have to go to you. And as the result of all of this rethinking, we've come up with two pilot projects, which we've had going now for about a year. The first one is a partnership with an extraordinary school called the Soulsville Charter School. I mentioned earlier Stax Records, which was one of the big record labels of Memphis music in the 60s and the 70s. The area where Stax Records is a 5 years ago looked like Dresden in 1945. I mean, it was really an urban disaster area. And what is happening in this neighborhood is the following. There's now a very good museum called the Stax Museum of Soul Music, which has taken the original Stax studio and converted it into a museum about all these musicians that work there. There is new housing going up, there is new commercial development going up, and there's a school right next door to the museum called the Soulsville Charter School. The student body, I'm confident to say, is 100% African American. The school teaches 5 subjects: English, math, science, social studies, and music. Every child participates in music. Every 8th grader has to play in the orchestra. Even if they don't want to, they have to. And the orchestra is strings and rhythm section. Strings, 3 keyboards, percussion, electric bass, electric guitar, drums. 6 of our musicians last year went to the school every week, and the every week part was very important because it was explained to us by the folks at the school that for these kids, basically every adult in their life has let them down. And they can depend on their mother, perhaps, and the teachers at the school. So we were going to have to be really serious about it. This could not be a token gesture. And we decided we were going to be really serious about it. Our 6 musicians went in every week. Most of the kids play by ear. They fake reading very well. They're very musical. I mean, they're so natural. It's our musicians' job to help them understand what they're doing and to help them improve. This year, the program expands to 9 musicians and 2 grade levels, not just 1. The other project is at the complete opposite end of the social spectrum. The biggest employer in Memphis is FedEx, which has about 30,000 employees, which single-handedly created the middle class in Memphis. It is the most incredible bureaucracy you've ever encountered. These 30,000 employees exist in several different campuses. the company is very, very highly structured. The Symphony has had sort of an on and off relationship with them. They would write us a check every year, but that was about it. And we felt to really penetrate into the community in ways that we hadn't, we were going to have to partner with FedEx in some ways. So we found in one part of one section of one division of the company, one person who was involved with employee training. And her job is to run an office which seeks to identify employees who have the potential to move up in the company, who have the potential to be managers. And along with a team of people from FedEx, we developed a day-long workshop, which we call Leading from Every Chair, which uses the orchestra as a means to demonstrate concepts of teamwork, leadership, and creativity. Now, it's obvious that those three things go into an orchestra. It's not obvious to them. And the thing that was amazing about this is that the curriculum for this workshop took about 500 man-hours to develop, and it was done solely by our musicians and a team from FedEx with no help from me, although they kept asking for it. And I said, no, this is your baby, and with very little help from our staff. And they generated this on their own, and we've done it 3 times so far. It's been fantastic, and we're going to roll it out for real. And we think this can be very useful, not just for companies, but also for nonprofit organizations and other groups within the community. Now, both of these projects are experiments. And as your friends in the sciences will tell you, most experiments fail. And these may fail as well. But the point is that we're looking at things a different way. And what this means for you is that the musician of the future is not the musician of the present or the musician of the past. I am confident in saying something which 10 years ago I got yelled at about, that it is not enough just to play your instrument well. Not anymore. And the universities and the conservatories increasingly are recognizing this. And as recently as 10 years ago, you could go through college without ever hearing that you might have to know how to market yourself, or that you might have to be tech savvy, or that you might have to know how to create opportunities for yourselves to play, or if you're a composer, that you're going to have to figure out ways to create opportunities for your music to be heard. They never told you that you're going to have to be able to do what I'm doing right now, which is to talk to a group of people whom you don't know about why it is they should care about what you do. It's going to be essential for you to be versatile. If the only thing you can see yourself doing is playing on the stage at Carnegie Hall or singing on the stage of the Met, you are going to be disappointed because the world system cannot absorb more than a handful of people every year who can do that. But if you can play well, or if you can sing well, and if you can do those things that I just mentioned, and if you're a versatile kind of musician who can improvise, or who can play jazz, or who is acquainted with the niceties of Baroque music, so that when I say note en égal, you know what that means, or if you can compose, or if you can arrange, or if you can design a website, or if you've got some business sense and can be an entrepreneurial type, you'll be fine.